want to shift focus and bring you an American perspective on this negotiations moving forward. I have Mark Linscott, and Mark Linscott is the senior advisor to US-India Strategic Partnership Forum. Mr. Linscott, welcome. President Trump's announcement bringing tariffs down from 50% to 18%. But so far, all conversations is on social media. There isn't a joint statement yet. From a trade negotiator's point of view, in your view, when does this become binding? How would you look at the situation right now?
Yeah, it was a huge development. I was not expecting it yesterday. I was hoping that it might come anytime, and suddenly it did on a Monday morning here in Washington, D.C. So it's an incredibly helpful development. I think it's quite huge for both countries. Ideally, it will put the trade relationship back on the right track. In terms of timing, that's a big question mark. I mean, as you highlighted, we only have the Truth Social post by President Trump. We have Prime Minister Modi's post as well. They are stated in very general terms, so they confirm that they have a trade agreement. The new tariff will be set at 18%. There are a number of other things specified in those posts, but there's a lot left up in the air, and timing is a big question. We don't have any details, and it's difficult to assess exactly what's in the agreement until we have a document that provides some details. I think Piyush Goyal, the Minister of Commerce and Industry, noted that there should be a joint statement released in coming days. That should give us a lot more information. In terms of when does it come into force, when does that 18% tariff apply versus a 50% tariff? They may need a little bit more negotiation on a legally binding text. That's been my understanding throughout this negotiation.
And on the point of Russian oil, Mr. Linscott, does India have to bring it down to zero, or that signal that India is reducing it enough for now? Is the relationship returning on an even keel? Are we on the same page there?
Well, in fact, his posting indicated that that Indian purchases of Russian oil are already at zero. Clearly, that's not exactly the case. It's much more complicated than that. There have been significant reductions in Russian oil purchases, and the administration has welcomed that. I think there's going to be some wiggle room. I think that there's a recognition among those in the U.S. administration who deal specifically with these issues that India cannot go to zero immediately. That it just needs to continue to trend downward, perhaps on an accelerated basis. That's the expectation. But I don't think that there is a realistic expectation that tomorrow there will be no more Russian oil purchases. I think that would be unrealistic.
And on the $500 billion worth purchases from the United States, because Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke of $500 billion worth of bilateral trade by 2030, and that was in 2025, so we're already 1 year down the road. So is President Trump playing to the gallery, his gallery, to get that big headline in the US?
I think you're right. I think he's playing to the gallery. He likes those headline announcements. He likes to say that there's an agreement for hundreds of billions of dollars of purchases. He's done that with countless other countries. In some of those examples, there's been an actual agreement put into place. And the best examples of that are Japan and Korea, in which memoranda of understanding were done. I'm not expecting that necessarily to be the case with India. We have no timeline for that. It would be unrealistic, again, for that to be in a period of a year. Perhaps the time horizon is 5 or 10 years. I think it's mostly a general statement, a headline statement, and as you highlight, playing to the gallery.
Okay, so if that's a headline statement, what's your understanding of what was said in the past? You know, President Trump saying words to the effect that India is a dead economy, or Howard Lutnick and Scott Bessent saying, you know, India will come looking for a deal in a couple of months, or that India is fueling the war in Russia. Was that to vitiate the environment? Was that to put India on the edge? The manner in which India pursued this deal, what's your reading, sir?
I mean, what can I say? I mean, this is an essential character of this administration, you know, flowing down from the very top. You know, we've become very accustomed to provocative statements, very aggressive statements, at times offensive statements from the president himself and from members of his administration. It's not unique to India. You know, this has been experienced by many countries. It's unfortunate. It makes things more difficult to have relationships, strategic and economic and trade, but it's just the reality we're going to have to all deal with over coming years.
Okay, that's something we just have to learn to live with. You know, for joining me here on this India Today special broadcast, Ms. Lynn Scott, many thanks.